Evolution.org, episode 629 is coming your way. Today, we're going to do another interview with the moderator, BeMe. This is going to be part two. If you haven't checked out part one, go check it out as well. It's really, really good stuff. So, BeMe, his name on the forum is BeMe. And in this one, we're going to go over his plans, his current log, what his plans are for the next few weeks and months, what his goals are going to be. We're going to talk about some other logs that BeMe really likes. We're going to go over the Mr. Olympia results. We're going to touch on if what BeMe thought about it, and Mobster is going to have a lot to say on that as well. He's also a wizard with home improvement. So I insisted that he gives a couple home improvement tips to people on here, something that you can do in your home that's good value that will help raise your property value, and that's something that's a good investment in your home. And then he's going to talk about a crazy story. He's got tons of crazy stories, and a lot of you have been asking for more stories and funny stories, so he's going to bring some crazy stories to the forefront of the podcast. It's going to be a very fun show. I'm looking forward to it. First, to remind everybody, we are on Apple, we are on Spotify. We really, really appreciate. We want to build this podcast organically. We are the number one bodybuilding podcast right now. We want to be the number one podcast overall. So we want to keep building it. If you want to support us, make sure you like, subscribing, commenting. Check us out on all the forums, and check us out on all the platforms that we are on. So let's get right into it, BeMe. First of all, congratulations. You are a moderator now. You're also
Yes.
Protein King, and we talked about that a little bit too. So, Mobster, yeah, go ahead, Mobster.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I've been put forward to say this on behalf of the forum, behalf of myself and Steve, behalf of the bosses, etc. BeMe, to make sure that we thank you for the work that you're doing, for the assistance you give to other members. And this is obviously while yourself and a couple of the other guys have been put forward as moderators. And look, there's two jobs that moderators do. One is literally moderating the forum, and the other one is to be a guide, to be a help, to be an assistant. And one of the things, I think we've even talked about this with you on a previous show, because we love, I mean, all three of us and everybody that's listening to the show, because we love training, because we love how we can manipulate our bodies and our diets, and it helps us in life and everything else. We like the idea, some of us, not everybody's like this, but obviously you are, the idea of giving back, the idea of putting that energy back into the universe. And what happens with people like yourself, BeMe, is we see that energy. We see you not just enjoying your own journey, but getting help from other people yourself. And then I think what's the phrase, paying it down, paying it along, and doing that on the forum. So that is absolutely, wanted to make a special effort today to thank you for everything you're doing in that regard. There's obviously is a sort of thing that says that, in doing so, we get our own reward because we get great feedback from everybody else. But we wanted to make a particular effort to say thank you for everything you're doing, and hopefully encourage you to carry on doing the good work that you're already doing in the future.
Oh man, thanks, Mobster. That really, really means a lot to me, actually. It was actually funny hearing that I'm a mod for the first time coming out of Steve's lips. Just on that intro there, all of a sudden it just hit me like, whoa, yeah, I'm a moderator now. It felt kind of funny, but yeah, I really appreciate it. And honestly, it's not like I have to it's not like I have to try to really do what I'm doing. It's just everybody's been so inspirational here on the forum, and it just really comes naturally, honestly.
Yeah.
I love being engaged with the guys. I love trying to give back as much as I've been given. Like honestly, on this like cycle journey and trying PDs for the first time, I would have never had the confidence to go it alone. Like even with my TRT doc helping here and there, I still I'm always fearful of the unknown, and just maybe I missed something, I'm gonna screw something up. But just like knowing all you guys have my back all the time, like I'm just one message away from help at any point in my cycle, just gave me the confidence to
Yeah.
just dive right in. And
I've I've been very lucky to literally been given an award for being an ambassador for physical culture. And part of my thank you speech was something along the lines of every single person that was in that room at the award ceremony has lived my life. They were gym owners, they were supplement company owners, they were professional and amateur bodybuilders, gymnasts, people that do balance work, trapeze work, everything, right? All kinds of levels of physical culture, weightlifters, bodybuilders, powerlifters, everything. So every single person in there had got to that level where they've made a name for themselves in some particular way. And to have those people honor you for essentially just spreading the love is something else. There are always going to be people on the forums that have an immense amount of knowledge, but are loners, or an immense amount of knowledge, but don't talk to anybody in the gym. And we've even got, from time to time, people that will train and not talk to anybody in the gym. And I literally just had this discussion yesterday. Well, I said, ironically pointed out that although they consider themselves very solo in the gym, they're on a forum, and they're on a forum sharing information. So even though they think they're a particular type of person, in reality, here they are on the forum.
I think I know
Like
who
I
you're
said,
talking about there.
yeah,
I saw that
literally
discussion
just
yesterday.
we're going to try and I'm going to try and get Steve to do a show on the old alpha thing. But look, you can be as alpha as fuck and whatever else. You could be an absolute pro in the industry that you're in and all the rest of that kind of stuff. But here you are. This is a hobby for some people. It's a passion. And I like to think, and I'm not always, even myself, like I said, sometimes I'm just a moderator. And I've especially back in the past, I've seen myself just literally picking up on the rules and keeping things structured. But when I have time and you have that time and you're giving that time of yourself, you're out there saying, listen, guys, I fucking love this shit. And you guys have been crazy helpful. Why shouldn't I want to help you? Why shouldn't I give back? And that's the reasons why the bosses and the top team, etc., turned around and said, yes, BeMe's out there. He's doing this on a daily. He's a fantastic guy. We should reward you with this title. We should make sure to say through myself, through Steve, that, thank you very much for doing it. And hopefully anybody listening to this show, not just BeMe for the future, but anybody listening to the show that's on the forum, you get back as much as you put out, if not more sometimes. And like BeMe just said, even if it's just to guide you through using TB or PBC or mixing a peptide, not just from listening to the shows with information, but literally saying, I'll walk you through it. Guys at the gym, I know a guy that can beat Steve and he can't inject himself. He just can't. And he's literally won multiple Welsh competitions and he has to come to the gym every time to get someone else to do it. So it's just a small thing for someone else to do. And just giving out the information is a great thing.
So let's make sure those of you know, if you go on the forum, evolution.org, and go on the forums, you can go on the search bar in the top right. You can click the search bar and you'll see search, and you'll see also by member. So if you want to find BeMe on the forum, go where it says by member and you put in BEME, and then you could search for him and you could find his profile. Now from his profile, he's got labels. Right now he's a support moderator. It's Protein King, Evo VIP, and Evo Logger. So he's got 4 different labels. It also says that he's a mod. And if you scroll down into his signature on his posts, you will see his not only his log, which we're going to talk about shortly, and talk about his updates. You're also going to see his podcast episode that he was on previously. And you're going to see this podcast episode that he was also on. So that's the nice thing about the forum is we keep it structured, we keep it organized, so you can easily find this stuff on there. So his log, let's get into that a little bit. He started it back in April. He started out, you were 40 years old. So you're early 40s, 5'11", so you're pretty tall. 176 pounds, 12 to 13% body fat, and you started out using test Cypionate at 180 milligrams a week. And then you've been working since April to now, and now you're at 201 pages on this log. So it's incredible. Yeah. And you've had quite a journey. So tell us about your plans. Tell us about your updates since you started the log. What has changed for you? Because your pictures, you look fantastic. You look absolutely built. You've got the physique that I think 99% of both men and women would like women who are into guys would really be attracted to your physique. You got the physique that a lot of men would strive for. You're not this big, scary looking bodybuilder, but you've got a solid physique, lean, abs popping out. So really been impressive to see you go and improve, because originally your pictures, you looked really, really solid and you had a solid base, and now you've improved it further. So what have been some changes that you've seen?
Thanks, man. I'm gonna get a really big head after this interview with all the compliments and thanks you guys are giving me.
I'd like to see your cheeks blushing.
Yeah, they really are. It's funny you mentioned that about not being too big and stuff, because yesterday I was watching Derek just dropped his documentary on his YouTube page. He called it resilience. And my wife
Yeah.
walked downstairs while Derek was doing his posing routine just before he was about to go on stage. And my wife goes, "Oh my God, gross." So that sort of gave me a little bit of a hint of the kind of physique she doesn't want me going after. So I don't think I ever could get anywhere near to like an open bodybuilder size. But I mean, I started at 180 pounds and right now I'm at 190. I mean, on cycle, I probably peaked around 193, 194, but I was carrying a bit of water and I was a bit softer at that time. Now I'm, I guess, 9 weeks off cycle. I did taper down for 2 weeks. I know how you guys feel on that one, and you did a whole episode about it. But yeah, so it's been really technically 7 weeks total off cycle. So I feel like most of the stuff, for the most part, has left my system. I'm not feeling super physiological at this point anymore. I'm still maintaining my strength, and I am still holding pretty strong at 190 pounds. And so what I've done basically is just gone into a cruise phase. I'm pinning 70 mgs of test E every other day at the moment. I know how you guys sort of feel about that too, but I like using the slim pins. I find it's much easier on my body. I don't get any sort of pip from that stuff. So, and I've been just running the 2 IUs of GH before bed just to improve my recovery. And at this point, I haven't started gaining again, although I feel as if my body is almost hit a switch again where it's like my hormones almost just weren't right for a little while there after cycle. Like probably at about 6 weeks off cycle, I started feeling a bit odd, like almost like low E2 symptoms. But when I got my blood work done, I didn't have low E2. So I think maybe it was just I was dealing with a bit of a virus at the time and like a hormonal shift maybe in my body happened. And since then, I'm starting to feel more like when I first got on TRT. I'm starting to feel strong again, mood's up, libido's high again, just everything feeling great again. So I'm sort of starting to get back into a little bit of a push phase at this point.
I was going to say here, Steve, I just not that long ago finished the cycle myself, and one of the things that I noticed, and I think Beamy's want to touch upon this himself, is I'm more energetic off cycle and back on CRT. I'm more mobile and quicker walking, quicker going to the gym. Uh, Obviously, when I'm on cycle, I'm stronger. So there's also an argument for when we're on cycle BeMe, we push harder. And therefore, there's going to be more of an impact on our recovery. Obviously, the PEDs help with recovery. They help you to push harder. But at the same time, you're trying to make something happen. So you can feel more tired because of what you're doing, especially at the peak of the cycle when the training is really hard, and so on and so forth. Something else, which I think we could kind of touch on a tiny bit here in regards to what Beamy just said. And I think this is why we talk about people having experience of cycling. Beamy, and I believe myself, and I'm going to say Steve as well in this regard, we have an idea of how we feel on. We have a sort of sense of awareness of our energy, our testosterone levels, the differences in our libido, and so on and so forth. And sometimes for some people, I'd especially say new users or people that use vast amounts of high amounts of steroids on cycle and then go clean afterwards. We're not having a super crazy highs and a super crazy lows. So we have a better understanding of how our body should feel, and we manipulate things in a small way. And that enables you to be kind of tuned in to how you feel, your energy, your sleep, and so on and so forth. And hopefully you get a good idea. I have deliberately pushed the envelope in terms of my training and my tiredness and my recovery and impact on my central nervous system. So I know goddamn how well I can feel when I'm absolutely fucked, and equally how I feel energy wise and how I feel in certain PEDs. There's a little bit of what you just said that be me in terms of you having a good awareness. Do you think perhaps more experience has enabled you to have a good idea of how you feel on, off, the variations and so on?
Yeah, I mean, this was really my first cycle, so it's my first time coming off cycle. So I had no idea what to expect except what I've read and what I've heard online. But I've also come to realize, everybody is very much different. Every cycle is very much different. Every drug affects every person differently. So there is no way of knowing exactly what's to come. and I sort of just feel everything out as it goes. And yeah, it felt it felt a little bit almost like I slipped into like maybe like a depression. Some guys would say like very minor, just not feeling quite like myself. And I can see how guys who talk about dealing with mental health side effects from PEDs, I really got sort of a firsthand view at that point of how those guys are affected and how they can feel the way they feel. Because personally, I've never really dealt with depression or anything like that. We all have bad times, but when people are dealing with actual clinical depression, it's a whole nother level. And I could sort of feel myself slipping into that sort of, you know, early stages of
Yeah.
something like that, wanting to sort of shelter away, just not quite feeling myself, sort of thing. I recognized it.
You're not a crazy high PED user. I do know that some people, and again, Steve and I have expanded upon this on shows, they come off cycle and they don't like how they're not feeling turbo 100 miles an hour like Superman. And that's
Yeah.
the reason why cruising happens. That's the reason why blasting happens, because they will never come off because of that. I think you and I are a little bit more alike in regards to what you call the cruising phase is really, again, especially at 40, 41, a TRT thing versus an actual younger person blasting and cruising up and down the highs and the lows and so on and so forth. But still, you notice the difference. And it took a week or two, as you said, to adjust. But once you get through that week or two, you're back almost to where you was before. You said that
Oh yeah,
already. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
so I was gonna say it just shows you how important hormones are in both men and women. Like when women get pregnant, they, some of them just go crazy. Like they turn into complete, crazy people because the hormones are going crazy. And men's the same thing. Sometimes when men will use steroids, they'll go crazy. Sometimes when they come off, they'll go crazy. Sometimes you'll get depressed. So when you start messing with your hormones, it's one of those things where we don't know how your mind's going to react. Now, next time you could react differently. We just don't know. Like some people on trend end up in prison. Some people on trend like me, when I used to use trend, I'd be the opposite. I'd be calm as a cucumber. So like these hormones affect our brains and they affect the way we are so differently. And a lot of it could be, and a lot of it too is confidence. Like when your testosterone levels and your hormones drop when you come off gear, sometimes your confidence drops, and that may cause you to be depressed. So a lot of it,
Even tracking this kind of ups and downs and the highs and the lows on. I mentioned Prince Daddy, and I said that he would have that thing every day that he posted in his log of what androgen rage, and he'd give it a number. And I asked him what he meant one day, and he literally said whether I'm angry or not angry, the highs and lows. And if you went back for his log, you could see that he'd, and this is something I was actually thinking of in BeMe's log, you can see if you go back and you read, and especially if you read between the lines, but in Bin Study's case, literally that number or the way that he felt on that particular day. And you could see as he was approaching the competition, whether it went up or if he was tired or if he didn't get a good night's sleep, was the number different? Was the sense of well-being different? And so on. So literally, sometimes one of the things that people can include in their logs, or if we go back and we read between the lines, we can see it. Whether I know, for example, I talk, but when I'm not talking, is probably different. When I'm feeling shitty, when I'm feeling grumpy, when I'm stressed, when I'm maybe just come off a cycle, and so on. So I'm less verbal, I'm less open and engaging or whatever else. But even these shows would probably sound different. So there's a great reason, BeMe, as you as an example, with the log, with the feedback, the way that people responded to you in the log, as an indication of your normal outgoing self, which I suspect is where you are normally, versus perhaps a few weeks ago when you were struggling a little bit, and then now that you've picked back up, I bet you if you went back for your log for 2 weeks ago, you'd see a little bit in there, a little bit less engaging, a little bit less sort of responding or whatever else, or still responding, but perhaps just not as much, and so on. So this is another reason why, guys, I'm thinking of Dorian Yates again, like myself, writing it out in an actual book, and he would include things like how he felt on that particular day. And Steve and I have covered this on the show as well. We, as human beings, forget just how goddamn hormonal we are, whether that's feel-good hormones, whether that's depression, whatever. And literally food that we eat, situations we're in, our age, our body fat, our levels of fitness, and especially when it comes to steroids, PED use, we are very, very hormonal. We don't think we are. We think we're all brain and logic, but we are incredibly hormonal. And that can include, say, if it's a feel-good hormone
Oh
or
yeah.
catabolic hormone,
Like when
whatever.
imagine when you were a teenager, what you went through.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like what it's like, going on steroids, coming off steroids. So that's why we
Yeah,
PCT to give you a soft landing. So I think one of the things BeMe, can adjust maybe his PCT in the future, maybe adjust it a little bit. Hopefully he'll feel better in the future. So what are your plans for the next few weeks, the next few months? Have you kind of opened your eyes to a possibility of competing? Because you're in your early 40s, you still have a lot of juice, left in your system to have you been like more interested in competing or less?
I mean, I definitely am more interested in competing now than before. And I think that has to do a lot with maybe some comments I've gotten on my log and guys sort of encouraging me to go for it. The real blockage there is just my work schedule. I work so much at this point. I feel like I'm in a phase of my life where I'm 40 years old. I can really grind at work and, sort of make as much money as possible and just save as
yeah,
much as possible
yeah.
and get it like a good investment nest egg that'll just grow and
Here's the thing,
compound on
BB,
itself.
just to encourage you. Your peak years financially are 35 to 45, and your
I
peak
believe so,
years
yeah.
competition is the same. My
Yeah.
best competing years would be late 30s to late 40s. So you have that opportunity, whether it's just setting aside a few weeks for the last parts of the competitive grind. But like I said, I was making the most money around age 35 to 40 something, in terms of work and putting stuff out there and money that was coming in from different streams. I still do a little bit of that, but I bitch like a motherfucker about working too hard now. But training wise, it's the same, especially in bodybuilding. Just for the benefit of the listeners, but I think it'll benefit me as well. If you are a normal Joe, and I've mentioned already the peak financial years, most people are at the top of the profession, age 35. That will all the legal professions, accounting, and so on and so forth, all the white collar stuff is around 35. And if you get into a role at that point, like a VP or something, 35, 40, 45. If you own your own business or if you're self-employed, similar to BeMe, again, 35 to 45. But when we lift, we add 10 years. So arguably, BeMe, you have 4 more years where you can absolutely go out there, maybe in the classic class or something like that, and smash the fuck. And also, just to encourage you, it's entirely up to you whether you do or you don't, of course, you will probably see just exactly what you're capable of, even if it's only once. If you compete, it will add something to your training, your nutrition, your focus, what you're doing right now on a level that you will not believe. Even if you only got on stage, tanned up, shaved, etc., the one fucking time. And not only that, here's another thing for you to encourage you, being able to look back when you're 50, 55, 60, when you're looking at grandkids and extended family and whatever, and friends, and even in your career, say, that one time I got on stage and I'll be, Jesus Christ, look at his abs, look at his glutes, and just being amazed at this guy that they're talking to is now like an old motherfucker. Is look at what I was able to do just at one time.
Yeah, I do kind of have that same thought process, where I'm sort of weighing out the balance of, okay, maximizing my earnings while at the same time not missing a chance to peak before going on stage. It's pretty tough to figure out, but like life always has to come first, and I do absolutely love the idea of being able to look back and have pictures and say, hey, I did try that one show. I think if I did do it, I don't think I'd be a one and done type guy. Because the way I'm sort of trying to set my life up, I'm trying to sort of be more like you, Mobster, where when I'm in my 50s, I can sort of just wind down and maybe work part time or
Yeah.
something along those lines. That's kind of my goal.
Have you
And
been have you been to any competitions?
no, I've never actually watched a competition live,
Yeah.
so
That might
I'm
be a good
headed to the
idea.
Toronto
Yeah.
Pro this year for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And we do have a member who actually might like
Yes,
he's
I was just going
prepping
to
for the
say
Toronto Pro
you
right now.
Jack's D42. You said you're
Yep.
going to go there and cheer him on, yeah?
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Like it'd be twice, it'd make the experience so much better, you know what I mean? Just my first show and there's a fellow Evo member out there competing would just be amazing. So I'm very excited
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
I always tell people. I was gonna
He was
say, I
gonna
always tell
compete in the
people just to
nationals.
go to a competition and see what it's all about, and then decide from there. You know, if you want to do it, and maybe talk to some of the guys afterwards and see. But it's yeah, a lot of people don't like competing. They like everything, but they just don't like competing itself. We have another guy, Madcap. He said the same
Yeah.
thing. He's like, there's some parts I like, there's some parts I don't like, because it's like literally the show might start like at 6 o'clock and won't even finish till like midnight because there's so many people competing in multiple categories.
Yeah, I've been to powerlifting meets and they're a lot like that too. It's just like it can run on forever.
Yeah.
Kind of takes the fun out of it a bit. But I have been following along with a bunch of guys doing prep logs, like you mentioned Prince Daddy, like incredible physique on that guy.
Yeah.
What a
So
log
let's
that
talk.
was.
Let's on that. Let's
And
touch upon some of these guys' logs.
Yeah.
And let's start with Prince Daddy. What do you like about Prince Daddy? You guys can go on the forum and check him out. He's from Texas. He's very actively competing. He really wants
Yes.
to get his pro card.
Program.
Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about your feelings on Prince Daddy. Go ahead.
I mean, with my physique, especially the kind of guy I look up to and just say, wow, that's the kind of guy I would love to look like one day. You know, if I could get to that level. He seems to have everything really dialed in. Even just his
Yeah.
log, the way he logs is very, very professional. Everything is very
Yes.
professional with him, you know. So and
55,
I guess
55 years of age as well.
yeah, and
55,
who would think
56. Yeah.
it? You know, at 55 to look that amazing, you know, it's incredible. And you could tell he has a very professional mindset about everything,
Yeah.
and it makes sense that he's going for his pro card because he's treating things that way, right?
And his
I'll tell you
title of his
something.
log, I just want to say his title of his log is Prince Daddy 2025 Bodybuilding Log. And in
Yeah.
parentheses, he has Masters 55 plus competitors. So if you guys want to check that out, go check that
I,
out.
I was going to say, Steve, I mean, this is a thing that people tend to think as bodybuilding competitions as being a young man's sport. But just to encourage people, and I've already mentioned the fact that in terms of weight training and keeping fit and being strong, you essentially add 10 years to your physical peak. So most people the average man in the street is physically as big, tall, and as strong as he's ever in. I think most people attain their heights around age 21, or a couple of years either way. And your physical manifestation of strength, the average man is age 35. But if you lift, you maximize your strength around the age of 45. And typically, in the nicest possible way, and Prince Stead is a great example, you are chronologically, as he is 55, but in terms of your physical body, assuming you haven't abused it in other ways, you tend to knock 10 years off. So you might be 55 according to your birth certificate, but people will judge you around 45. Doctors will say that your liver and your arms and your skin tone is 45, and so on. So that's just an example. But also, I mean, we're talking about, we've got people in their late teens and early 20s that are looking to compete, and we've got Prince Daddy at 55. We've got myself at 61. We've got two or three other people on the
Mhm.
forums that are older, and every single person is able to transform their body, be healthy, be strong, be more muscular, and attain great levels of physique. I will criticize, not in a negative way, the sheer money that Prince Daddy, because he tends to compete in multiple classes, because he's so focused on trying to win his pro card. And I've literally said it's cost him the last show in fees and tan, entry fee, class entry fee specifically, and tan, which has to be done at the venue, and a couple of
Give
other
us the
things.
number, Mobster. Because you're
I
saying the
think it
money.
was.
What was the
I
number?
think. I think it cost him between $1,500 and $2,000, and that didn't include gas or hotel fees and food. Just the competition fees and the tan stuff and things that you have to do specific to the show at the show. Around fifteen
Yeah, I
hundred to two
know.
thousand dollars.
Like Jack D42 was saying, he was having a hard time raising enough money to go and compete
Yes,
in nationals because it's so
yes.
expensive.
So
He's had
Jack,
Yeah,
help with sponsors, but yeah, it's crazy.
So I was gonna say, let's talk about Jack D42 a little bit. He's also so Prince Daddy is Texas. Jack
Yeah.
D42 is also Canadian, like you,
Yeah.
BeMe.
Yeah,
And
he's a
hit
Ontario boy like me. He's about he lives about an hour and a half away from me.
okay, cool. And
Very
his
Yeah.
short. Was he 4'11", Steve, or something ridiculous?
so
Five foot
his
four.
well, let me talk about his title first. So you can check out his latest log. He's got 3 logs. You can check that out in his signature. So if you look up Jack, the letter D, and then the number 42, and you can find his log. His current log is called Toronto Pro Qualifier 2026 Prep Journal. So he's going. He's planning on going to Toronto Pro. So talk about BB. Talk about Jack D.
Well, I've been sort of following him for a while now,
Yeah.
just because, like I said, he's a local boy, and man, the physique on that guy is
Yes.
unreal. Like he legit looks like an open class bodybuilder. You see his pictures, and you're like, wow, this guy is a freak. And how
There's
he's
some parts of his physique, me, where you're like, again, I know how short he is, so he's in that height class. But he is a. I mean, I not to be insulting, but he's a muscular tree trunk.
oh
He is
yeah,
a because of his short stature in terms of his height, he packs a lot of muscle into a very short frame, and some parts of his physique are fucking outrageous. In fact, if there's
yeah,
anything, and again, I've given him suggestions, so I'm not saying anything on this show that I haven't said on the forums in terms of how he presents himself and so on and so forth. And again, he's a good example of the high androgen issues in affecting
yep,
sometimes his mood and so on and so forth. But
yeah,
he strikes me that with a few small changes, he will absolutely destroy the opposition. And so on and so forth. So he's just, again, guys, check him out because I think BeMe's already doing this. I'm doing it. He caught my eye just on his physique and how he looks and how he presents himself.
Yeah, he's got
And
plenty of
again,
pictures up. I don't think he's four foot
yeah,
11. I think no, I
no,
don't
he's
think.
like 5'2",
yeah,
5. He's not tall.
yeah.
He's
Yeah,
definitely a
but
short
he's
class
no, I don't think
competitor.
he's four. I think he's like 5'4", like 5'4", something like that. Like Lee
But
Priest height, you know.
we've had people on the forum that are 6'7". I think one that was 6'8". He's towards the other end. But as
Yeah.
again with the age thing that I just mentioned, he's a great example that regardless of your stature, you can pack an enormous amount of freaky, gnarly looking. What do you
Oh
think
yeah.
about his physique in that way, BeMe? And he's kind of crazy looking for sure.
Oh my, his arms are like Mr. Olympia level arms. It's
Oh yeah.
unbelievable. Like he could walk up on the Olympia stage with those arms and you'd just be like, yeah, he fits right in. But I often wonder, like I've never heard him mention anything about a coach or anything like that. And I wonder if he's self-coached. Maybe like funds are a
That could be
limiting
right. Yep.
factor or something like that. And I always see with like a guy like him, like he's honestly just like one step away at all times, it seems like. And I kind of think if he had a coach that would just take
Yes.
him on,
Yes.
I wish somebody in the forum, like one of the big coaches, would just look at his log and say,
Did you
hey, let
notice
me
in the
jump in and
last
help you
24,
out.
36 hours, I looking at his log this morning, BeMe, and there was myself included, and he actually took a bunch of constructive criticism and how I said, for example, how he was posing two particular poses, and all of his posing pictures, bar the ones that are on stage, are at home, in the kitchen, in the lounge, wherever, and relatively dark. I suspect he's putting up the camera on a tabletop or cabinet or something and taking his photographs. So I think you're right. I think if he had, it may well be someone that's uncoachable in not being able to take advice, and yet he was taking advice this morning. So
Yep.
maybe you're right. Someone else that's maybe competed. Actually, I'll tell you what would be really good: working with a woman. I've seen guys that won't take posing advice or competition advice from men, but if you take it from a woman, hold yourself this way, present yourself this way, walk onto the stage like this, and the muscle that you've already got. And I even said something like this, which I think you'll agree with. Small changes, for example, he was holding his arms right up under, he's got a kind of high pec,
Oh yeah.
and his arms are
Yep.
tucked under, and he's got a long torso. So he's actually leaving all that skin underneath exposed, rather than dropping his arms down and presenting himself slightly differently, like a tiny little bit. Now, he took advice this morning. Other days he doesn't. If he could work with someone, I think you're right. If he could work with someone and open his physique up and just present it slightly differently, literally the judges at the Ontario Pro would see, hey, what's he done different? He's done nothing different. He's just showing it differently. And that might be all that it needs for him to catch a judge's eye and be given a better place. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally 100% agree with you. I saw that comment you made in his log the other day where, yeah, he's keeping that elbow just on the side chest. He's keeping that elbow just a little too high. It's bringing the shoulder out. It's just kind of ruining the look a little bit. Actually, Andrew Jack has the same problem when he does his side chest too. It's almost like they're compressing themselves. They look too tight, where they just need to
Yeah.
sort of relax a little bit and sort of open up a bit more, and you
Yeah.
just look so much bigger. But yeah, he's right there. He's been right there for a while,
Oh,
so
please,
he's a
yeah.
great log to follow for sure.
Talk about Van Bum a little bit because we're actually going to interview him actually
Van
after
Life
we.
Gym Bum.
So that's coming up. We're actually
Yeah,
doing an interview. Well, I think.
Yeah.
So tell me about Van Bum. What do you think about him?
Van Life Gym Bum. If he talks as much on the interview as he does on his log, then Mobster is going to be in trouble on that one because he's never going to get a word in.
I wrote six. I got 6 pages in, and I had a page full of notes already. I goes to Steve via the comments and stuff. I said, if we're just going to have a hell of a show with Van Life Jimbo because he is so out there. He's so different. He's kind of living. I won't say on the extremes of society, but he's a very interesting guy. Definitely, he's not doing the normal societal stuff. He's definitely had an interesting journey. There obviously is the drug stuff that we're going to get into as well, and the alcohol and so on and so forth. He's doing charitable type work now as well. But literally, the idea of living out your van, keeping yourself clean, helping in society, doing stuff like that, and still using PEDs and still training. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So BeMe,
Well, he
tell us more about Van. What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, he drove actually in real life. He drove out to help another Evo fam member compete in bodybuilding competition. There's a guy named Dave 1288499. Good luck memorizing that one. So it's Dave
Yeah.
1288499. He's a competitor and he was doing his prep and Van Life Gym Bum. They're both in New Zealand. I guess drove across the country to go help him out. And next thing you
Yeah.
know, you see on Dave's log, Van Life Gym Bum's there massaging his glutes with a Theragun. It's just like, what the
They
heck?
train together and everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
awesome. That's the
unbelievable.
type of family we have on Evo. So let's get into let's get into the Mr. Olympia finish. And I'm gonna go over the winner. So it was a very, very close 1 and 2. I'm sure Monster, you have a lot to talk about as well on this. But Derek finished first, 14 total points. Hottie was second with 16 total points. So that was super, super close. Andrew Jacked was a distant third with 32 points. Then Samson dropped from last year down to he had 38 points to fourth place. Martin Fitzwater, again, a top five finish with 51 points. And then Nick Walker, who was the one talking, predicting he would win first place, got 59 points and was a distant sixth place. So, BeMe, give you the floor on this one. What is your impressions of this finish?
Well, I gotta say this year was by far the most exciting Olympia we've had in so long, just because it was so wide open in multiple classes. I mean, like 212 was obviously locked up by Keon, but Clarita gave him a good run for his money. But like this year, you just was very unpredictable, which was amazing. And I was one of the people who fell under the Nick spell. You know, I saw his pre-show prep picks about 3 weeks out, and I was like, man, that guy's prep is going unreal. Like he's going to be a next level from the New York. He's going to look like a giant mutant, and maybe he can do it. So much so to the point where when you guys were doing your podcast episode about it and did your predictions, and Mobster had Martin ahead of Nick, I actually hopped on the comments and tried to make a bet against them on that. I'm glad he didn't notice because actually my bet was, hey, how about the loser picks out a pretty dress and wears it on Evo?
I was going to
So
say
I'm
you owe
glad.
me $10.
No, I would have owed you a picture in a dress. So I thought that would have been a fun bet, but I'm glad you didn't
Oh
notice
no,
the
I'll
comment
pick one
on
out for you
Spotify.
now, mate. Don't you worry. You don't mind. You like Barbie, right?
Yeah. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. I definitely won't be betting on Nick again after everything that happened, though. Uh, it was very interesting. I mean, I, I personally, me personally, just as a casual fan, like I'm not a bodybuilding expert by any means. I loved Andrew the most. You know, like when you're looking across that stage, and it was just the four of them up there. Samson, Andrew, Derek, and
Yeah.
Hadi. Who is your eye drawn to? Who is the guy you keep looking at? And
Yes.
consistently, it was Andrew. I mean,
What
like,
do you think? What do you think in this regards? I thought he'd improved enormously from the last couple of years. In fact, Steve and I said in our predictions he was on the cusp, but he never quite seemed to bring it together. This year, he brought it.
no, you guys
Um,
nailed it with that prediction. I think I jumped right on and said right away, like, I was like, you guys really got that prediction right. Like, you guys saw it coming.
he looked
Because,
so
yeah,
fucking determined this year, even the way that he was looking at things on stage. Let's run across the. I mean, what do you think of? Let's do Derek first. What do you think of his physique as the winner versus
I mean,
perhaps then Hadi, then and so on?
like, I'm not a fan of Derek personally. Like, I don't
No,
really like him. I find him to be incredibly fake, and it really bugs me. Like, I can't stand fake people like that. It's my number one, like, bugbear in life is
it's
just phony
almost
people.
forced sincerity, and I find it a little bit
Yeah.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah, it drives me insane, but you can't knock his physique. His physique is incredible. Like you know, he lacks the conditioning, but he what he lacks in conditioning, he makes up for in fullness and just that beautiful
Yep.
symmetry. For a guy his height to have that kind of symmetry and that kind of size is pretty unbelievable. So he's pretty untouchable in that sense. But
What
did
about
you know he
Hadi?
tore his pec 3 weeks out
Yeah, I
before the Mr.
saw
O
that
two?
3 weeks, 4 weeks ago. Yeah. What about
Yeah,
what about yeah, and covered it up very well if he hadn't if it was still injured. What about
unreal.
Hadi's physique? Yeah,
Hattie was like all typical Hattie, you know, just unbelievably conditioned. Like the feathering in his quads, just that midsection has to be the greatest midsection ever in history. Just it looks like he's got a row of shark teeth going up his serratus, and when he moves them up and down like that, it's unbelievable. And the thing
something
I
that
don't,
something that Stevesmi and I said was that when he is in condition, he has that sort of straight chest. And I think of
yeah,
all the guys that were on stage this year, was the only one that was when he was flexing that with maybe Martin Fitzwater that really brought that combination of the size and condition. So it could definitely gone either way with Hadi in first instead of Derek.
yeah, because like the thing that confused me when Derek won was, well, if the judges are looking for like really insane conditioning, a guy about that size, that build,
Yep,
I mean, Hadi's right there with him.
yep, yep.
And I personally, in my opinion, just a better version of Derek. If you're going for size and symmetry, then why not Andrew Jack? Because he has the greatest size and symmetry on that stage. So that's kind of where like maybe they're trying to look for the best of both worlds. I don't really know, but or maybe they just wanted to say, "Hey, we have a triple crown winner and it's big
Yeah.
news."
It's got to
Something,
drive.
something like that.
One thing I did notice, and again, there's the videos that we see online are from the live stream, and some of the photographs are different. And his own documentary, his own sort of what happened at the Olympia by Derek, showed him that when they were doing the various poses, he was the one stepping forward, and everybody followed him. And there's a little
Yeah,
knack when you compete. So the lead, if you're the leader or perceived as being the leader by the judges, their eye drawn to you. So him stepping forward and then literally line up in one or two of these frames on the video, everybody followed him forward as though they realized that he's trying to take it. He's trying to push forward.
It's
He's trying to present
yeah.
himself as a champ.
Oh,
it's
they
got
were
to
at
drive
the end of the
Hottie crazy
stage.
too because he won it and then 3 straight years of second place. It's got to drive him crazy. It's like fuck, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. I feel bad for Hadi, but you know he's got it once, so you know he does have that. So I
I
mean,
agree with you 1,000% over Nick. If you looked at the pictures 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, though he doesn't have the quote unquote aesthetic that we'd like to see, he was confident as fuck. He would look like a winner. He presented himself at the press conference, a winner who's going to win on Saturday night. It's going to be my name at first, and all that kind of stuff. And then on stage, the tan seemed off, the conditioning seemed off. He's already had himself and his coach talk about missing the peak, but then so did Samson. So you're like, okay, Nick, what the fuck happened? Where was this physique that we saw? Everybody looks great in their own pictures, but even allowing for that, you still, even I started to do what you did, which was start to think of Nick as a potential winner, as a here's his going to be his best year, and then Friday night and Saturday night, as he said it to Bob, who the fuck is this guy? What happened?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's you know, like I thought the mass monster era was coming back. You know, when I saw Nick's prep pics and stuff, I was like, wow, if his conditioning gets that dialed in at his size, how could the judges ignore that? You know what I mean? He's gonna be up there. You know, I thought really the
Well,
only
then
person
something
that
else
could go for him.
you can comment on this yourself, BeMe. One of the things I noticed that he seemed to be getting more out of his training, out of each rep, and the weights weren't crazy. He's probably training the lightest he's ever
No,
done.
he trains light. Yep.
Yeah, I've seen him in the past, I think, doing 160-pound dumbbells on bench. And this year, I think he was doing 50, 60, 70 pounds. And yet, his physique this last 3 months with the lighter weights, every single rep was slow, controlled, stretched. He was getting more out of his. It's like he's learned how to get more out of his training. He's learned how to maximize his physique. So I think that just added to the disappointment for me because, again, I don't mind the monsters. I don't mind the freaks. We just talked about Jack as a freak. Maybe it doesn't have Mr Olympia aesthetic, but it wouldn't have been the worst thing ever if he'd been in the top three or even the top two. And you go, no, come on. Where was the Nick that we wanted and we thought we were going to get? So there was a little bit of a disappointment there, I think, and I think the results reflected that. What about Martin bringing pretty much everything? What do you think about him taking that step up into that top five, top six?
Well, I mean, he did place one place lower than last year, but I would argue his placing this year was almost better in a way just because of the level of competition this year. Like the package he brought was unbelievable. Like like
Yes.
we were just talking about arms, like holy crap, the arms on him and shoulders. When you see
Covering
him
on his
doing his
quads.
side
Yep.
chest or triceps, side chest, like oh my God, his arms are unbelievable. You know, it's tough for him because you know, like his size and his frame, you could tell like his body doesn't want to be like a Derek Lunsford type body. You know, he's really pushing the food a lot, but I don't think he'll ever get that real like freaky size like a guy like Derek. But his conditioning is absolutely elite and his physique is incredible. It's yeah, I don't know if he'll ever be a top guy because you see these new guys coming up too, like guys like Good Vito, Beirut Tabani that made their Urs Kelasinski that made their previews this year, even Nexzilla. Like there's a lot of great new guys, you know. Jordan Hutchison did really well too. Uh, I think the competition is going to be too steep for Martin to ever be like a top guy, but I think he'll be knocking around in like the top five for a little while for sure, and he deserves it.
I think him and Brett Wilkins working together all year. I think if I was him or if he had some sort of management team, he will probably make the most money out of his career that he's ever done to this point this next 12 months. I think you're right. I can't see him right now with the people in front of him being top three, but I can see him being in that 5, 6 contention for a little while, perhaps with people like Good Vito and others stepping up. Here's the thing,
Yeah,
let's just take the overall competition. You've just mentioned a bunch of names there, Beamy, and this is just arguably with the arguments perhaps about condition as people tend to bring from the past. One of the, and you said it earlier on, one of the most competitive, the most interesting. Listen, the simple fact that we're talking about all these other people maybe being in contention is an absolute example of how improved people finally bring in the competition. Because when you start to go, any of the top 10, any of the top 15 are interchangeable, if only this has happened, it means that we've got a great standard of physique all the way across. In the past, you've had maybe 6 or 7 that you know I've got the potential to be Mr. Olympia. We're now talking about 3, 4, 5 other individuals in the mix that are just out of that pop, but in the next year or two could be in contention. Next Zilla will not. Next
No,
era is
definitely
huge and
not.
freaky. No, no, never, never.
But he could be a Nick
This,
Walker for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
he
think
could be up
he's ever going
there.
to
He
bring
could
that
be up there
condition. Yeah.
bouncing around. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great topic. So if you guys want to hear more, there's a great thread we got on the forum where we're talking about the Mr. Olympia, and you can go on there and give your opinion on where things should be. So let's move on to now. BeMe is a very gifted guy when it comes to home improvement. And I wanted him to
Well, here we
kind
go.
of, I wanted him to kind of give a tip on something that he would recommend for people. What's a good home improvement that will give value to your house? That's a good price.
So, for those who don't know, Steve has a little bit of a home improvement addiction. If you follow his Why Fasting Helps, is it Why Fasting Helps You Build Muscle? Is that the title? I'm going off memory here.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah, if
can.
you
Yeah.
follow his log, you'll see this guy is very much a home renovation addict who's constantly going back and forth from the Home Depot. And we actually have a DM thread going with some of Steve's modifications he's made to his home. So it's pretty, I've been now deemed the home renovation wizard, I guess, because of my help with Steve. But uh I would say like one like a simple thing most people can do, like, and it doesn't require much, is a paint job to make your house look more modern and more in line with what's selling these days, and some basic woodworking, wainscoting, doing feature walls behind your bed or in your living room, or a dining room feature wall. Like, these things really look amazing. They look hard, but honestly, if you watch a quick YouTube tutorial and you have a chop saw, you can accomplish these incredible like geometric patterns on walls, or good woodworking, like classic woodworking, like wainscoting, so easily with just a single chop saw, pin nailer, and some paint. And anybody can do it. If you're afraid, oh, what if I can't get the angles right, blah, 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 you can just get wood filler. It's not that hard. You patch any little mistake you make with a bit of wood filler and paint it over, and nobody knows the difference. And it could be like an old car where they call them like a 20-footer or 10-footer. Like, maybe your skills aren't that great the first time you do it, and it only looks good from 15 feet away. As you get closer, it's a little rougher, but who cares? You'll improve, and then by the time you've done it a couple times, you'll be a professional, and you can start doing it in every house you move into, and it really adds a ton of value for really just some sweat equity. It doesn't cost a lot to go to the Home Depot and buy some of this wood, and the wood filler, just nails, none of that stuff is expensive.
Should
It's
you
you're
use
talking hundreds.
untreated wood?
You can go either or. Like, you can get stuff that's been primed
Isn't this
already,
stuff
and that'll
that's
help save
treated
you
like
some
got
steps.
like some pesticides on it? You don't want that in your house, right?
No, I think maybe you're thinking of like outdoor wood.
Yeah.
Like stuff you would pressure treated, we would call it up here. I don't know what you guys call it. We call it PT.
And then with the
But that used
paint,
to
isn't
have
there
arsenic.
how concerned should people be about paint, getting good quality paint versus a cheaper paint in terms of
I mean,
health, but also quality?
health wise, I don't really think there's much you need to worry about. Everything nowadays is low to no VOCs. You're not breathing in any toxins or anything like that. At least up here in Canada, because I know our government regulates that kind of stuff. The quality of paint you pay for, the real difference is in coverage, like how many coats you're gonna have to do, and like ease of installation. So the cheaper stuff can be a little bit tough when you start using the brush and things like that. You'll see more brush marks and stuff like that.
Yeah. When was the last time,
Yeah.
Mobster, that you painted your place? Probably been like 100 years, right?
No, no, no,
Isn't it
no. But
isn't it all
I would.
stone walls?
No, no. Yeah, you guys are saying I live in a fucking castle with a moat. I've actually done some painting just a few weeks ago, but you're right. I bought a huge, great trade size 15 pint, whatever the fuck it was, container of Magnolia. And it's 100% correct what the guys have just said. You put it on and you think, no, that's going to take another couple of coats. Whereas the high price stuff, the premium stuff would have been one coat, one job. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, you get what
But
you
my,
pay for,
my
like
place is
everything else
big.
in
I've
life.
been the painters and decorators charge by the acre for my place.
Well, What's another tip, really quick, before we move into story time? What's another tip that people should be doing? How about with like their lawn? Is there any
Well,
tips with
this
like the
well
lawn?
this one will
Go.
actually this tip would relate to my personal field, which is electrical. I'm an electrician by trade. Changing light fixtures. It's not a scary thing. There's very little that can go wrong when you do it. So make sure the switch is off. You can tell the switch is off when the original light turns off. Pretty simple. And you're nice and safe. There's no power going on there. Take it down before you take anything apart. Snap a picture. That way, if you have to put things back or you get confused somewhere along the way, you have that picture as a reference to go back on. Take the old light off. Usually it's just a black wire, a white wire, and a bare copper wire. And Bob's your uncle. Now you've taken a light fixture down. To put the new one up, you just follow the instructions that come with the light fixture. The wiring is just going to be the same as it was before, black to black, white to
So when
white,
I
and
when I
whatnot.
moved to my current place, I moved the ceiling fan, right? And I took a light fixture
Yep.
down and put my ceiling fan, and I connected the wires the exact same way, like we just said. I took a picture, but when I turned the fan on, it wouldn't work.
When you
Like
turn the fan on,
so
wouldn't
yeah, when I tried to get the fan working, it wouldn't work, even though I did it the exact same way at the older place. So then I started to switch around the colors. I ended up matching white with white, black with black, the copper with the ground, whatever. And then I
Yep.
played around with it like, different ways, and then it got to work. So how come on my old place the colors were matching a certain way and working, but my new place it wasn't?
Without getting too technical, but I have a feeling what you have at your new place is what's called a switch leg, where they've used the white as a power wire
Ah,
going
okay.
down to your switch. So I'd imagine if you opened up your switch, you're going to see you only have two wires there, a black wire and a white wire.
Okay.
So that's why I always encourage people anytime before you touch anything electrical, always take a picture, always make sure the power's off, and always take a picture before you take anything apart. That way you have that reference. Like I'd imagine if you had a picture of the old light being up, you'd see, oh yeah, the black wire used to go to that wire. And then you can always do little things too, like mark wires individually with pieces of masking tape or something
Mhm.
like that, and that way you know which one's which.
Yeah, the electrical stuff, man.
It's less
Yeah,
daunting than you think. Like just
yeah,
changing light fixtures is like really simple. Usually it's only a matter of a few screws and
yeah.
just a couple wires. And like I said, if you have a picture, you can't get lost. And the design, like couple years ago, these crazy designer light fixtures that were costing over $2,000 have now been replicated, and you can find them at Lowe's or Home Depot for like $200. So you can
Okay.
really add a lot of style and
That's a
up,
good
make
tip
your
for
place look
sure.
modern for only a few hundred
Yeah.
bucks.
Light fixtures go a long way. Like it's like,
Oh yeah.
wow, this is an awesome light fixture because there's so many cool ones out there, like modern ones now. So tell us,
Yep.
we got like 5 minutes left. Tell us a cool, crazy story. You have a
Okay.
crazy past. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, like I grew up, I've been pretty open about this on my log. I started when I was, I was kind of like the typical troublesome sort of kid when I was little. And by the time I got to about 14, I was in high school, and my high school was like kind of what you'd call a hood high school. It's kind of like those gang high schools you see on in the movies and stuff like that. Like that was basically my school. Like everything broke down by race. It was kind of like prison, but I'm lucky because I'm mixed race and I always sort of got along with everybody. So I was able to sort of move amongst the different groups. And that afforded me the ability to be the guy who sells weed to everybody. So when I was 15 years old, I started selling weed at the school and I was making a ton of money. And it just exploded from there. By the time I was
You became an
17,
entrepreneur as a teen.
basically, yeah. Like school became work for me, I just showed up to just make money, really.
So then, what
I
happened? They
didn't-
ended up stealing your weed out of your locker.
no,
Okay.
actually, I was pretty smart about it. They were kind of onto me at one point, and they started having like hall monitors following me into bathrooms and things like that. So I actually changed schools for the last year because it was getting pretty bad at that school. It's just way too well known. So yeah, but so basically I was living like this lifestyle. By the time I was 18, like I was probably making $400,000 a year. I
What? Oh
had
my God.
yeah, I had
Jeez.
a car, I had a motorcycle, I was still living in my parents' place at that point. I moved out when I was
Did your
19.
parents have any clue what you were doing?
No idea. Like they caught me a couple times with little things, but I
Mm.
was pretty good about hiding my stuff outside where they couldn't find it.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, and then by the time I was 19, it just got so big that I was like, okay, I can't do this out of my parents' house anymore. It's getting too much. So I rented a house. So by the time I was 19, I had a house, I had a nice car, I had a nice motorcycle, sport bike. I was kind of like living the life of a rock star, basically, at a very young age. That's why I always say to guys like, I've sort of lived the life of multiple people, just because being 19 years old with that kind of money and
Mm.
that kind of access, like I was really well known around the city. I could pretty much get into
Jeez.
any club I wanted. And we were literally partying like rock stars from the time we were 18 years old. And I actually, speaking of like drugs and partying, like there was a weekend where I went, we used to go raving a lot. And I went 2 nights in a row raving, and I mean, we're just popping E's all night, doing ketamine, liquid G, all that stuff. And I'd gone 2 nights in a row with no sleep. And the third night, I was going to see my girlfriend. And did you know you can actually hallucinate naturally from lack of sleep?
Oh
Like I
yeah,
was
I can
on
imagine.
zero drugs, but I'd been up for 3 days at this point. I was on zero drugs. I was with my girlfriend. We were in the back of the car trying to get going, and next thing I know, I saw a leprechaun jump out of the bush and start staring at me. It looked like the fighting Irish leprechaun, only he was evil. He was giving me a bad look.
I wonder why
So
you were hallucinating a leprechaun. That's weird.
yeah, and he was just standing there staring at me, and at that point, I realized like, okay, I gotta go home and get some sleep. But yeah, you can actually hallucinate naturally.
So what ended
Yeah,
up
yeah, no.
happening to your business? Did you get busted or did you just stop it?
Yeah, it all sort of came crashing down when I was 24 years old. That point in time, I was living in like a luxury condo. Life was really good. Like I was making a lot of money at that point. And yeah, it was about 4 in the morning one morning, and my door came crashing down. And it was the major crimes unit here in
Oh my
Toronto came
gosh.
busting through my door. I was buck naked in bed with my girlfriend at the time. They literally scared the shit out of my dog. My poor dog, like, literally shit himself. He was so scared. It was so loud.
Oh man.
And it was needless too because it was a condo, so they could have just got the key from the security and unlocked the door and walked right in. But they decided to smash it and do like the
Uh,
whole show and flashbangs and all that stuff. So
mm.
4 in the morning, I was sleeping. Next thing I know, there's like just flashbangs going off in my room and stuff. So I get out of bed, roll over. For some reason, the guy runs up and kicks me in the side of the head, and I'm like, I'm complying. I don't know why you guys have to be like this. I'm not going to be a dick to you guys. I know you're
Jeez.
just doing your job. So yeah, they got me at that point. It wasn't too bad because I always had other places I kept things, but I mean, I got
Mm.
robbed pretty bad by the cops too. Like they stole money from me. They actually stole drugs too. They stole 4 pounds of weed, which was nice because that was like 4 less pounds that I had to worry about. But yeah, they stole my cigars, they stole my liquor, they stole clothes from
God
me.
damn.
Yeah, I couldn't believe these guys were stealing my clothes. Like I had some
That
at the time it was like Christian Audiger and
yeah. Well, I
Ed
guess that's their little
Hardy shirts.
bonus money, to
Oh
make
yeah,
something on the side.
yeah, dirty, dirty cops. But yeah, and then it turned out they didn't even have a warrant to hit my door either, which was the really messed up part. But yeah, I tried sort of waiting them out for about a year, and then like my idiot self, I was like, oh, I'll just start
Yeah.
up a
You
little
got a
bit
little
again just to
greedy.
make some
If you
money.
had
Yeah,
stopped previously, and just
yeah,
kind of moved to for Vancouver, they would have, probably left you alone. So what
yeah.
like did you go to jail or did you
So I got out on condition. Like I did go to jail for a little while. It was called the Dawn here in Toronto. It's actually a pretty famous prison because I think it was one of the first prisons in Toronto, and they actually used to do executions in there. So they say it was pretty haunted. When I was there, it was just full of mice and cockroaches and things like that.
yeah.
It wasn't haunted. It
You
was
didn't
just
run into
haunted by
Body
pets.
Monster while you were in prison, did you?
No, no, no body monster. But like
So how
the
much time
conditions
did you
were
end up
awful.
doing?
I just end up doing a week, and
That's it?
my lawyer got me. I had a really good lawyer. He
Okay.
came and got me. The cops were kind of trying to hold
So
me in
in the
there just to
end, it
fuck
kind of
with
was
me.
worth it, right? Because you lived like this amazing lifestyle for almost a decade, and you got
Yeah, I
kicked in the
mean,
head, and you know, I mean, isn't it? Would you say it was worth
yeah.
it, or would you
I
have
mean,
not
I
done it?
wouldn't advise people to go this route,
Uh-huh.
because you build up to a great point, and then
Mhm.
almost it's honestly like going back to Go in Monopoly. Like you just, they seize all your stuff. I had a lot of money saved, like sort of stashed away, but the lawyers eat into that so quick.
Oh, okay. So
Like
how much did you end
if
up
you want to
spending
stay
on
out of
lawyers? How much did the lawyers
Man,
cost
I
you?
didn't even before I even got to trial, I was in for 75 grand. That I was they kept delaying me. Like I said, they didn't really have a warrant. We suspect because over a year they couldn't produce a warrant, and
Hmm.
I still didn't have disclosure, which means like they have to provide evidence in a timely fashion. So it looked like I was going to get the case kicked, actually, but then they got me again. So they had a whole bunch more charges to stack onto me and a bunch of breach of bail conditions. I think I got 3 or 4 charges like that. So basically, at the end, I was facing like 14 charges. So I
Hmm.
had to plea out. But thankfully, like I said, if as long as you can afford a good lawyer, then you're safe. Because my lawyer was about as tapped in as you can get in Toronto. His wife was a judge, so we got preferential treatment everywhere we went. We never sat and waited in
So
court.
if
We always
someone
just
doesn't
walked in.
have access to a good lawyer, how much time would they have gotten?
Me, I was probably looking at anywhere from 5 to 10 up here
Oh,
in
okay.
Canada. Yeah, it's not if it, like I always say, like if I lived in Texas or something like that, I'd probably be doing like 30 years right now.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
questions asked. But thankfully, Canada, we have a pretty forgiving justice system when it comes to
yeah.
like, people who
Miss,
aren't violent offenders.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. I
So I
mean,
got a
that
fair
is
chance.
definitely a crazy story. So Harley guy's coming on too. We're gonna have to see if he gives us a crazy story too, as good as
Yeah,
that one. That was a good one for
Harley
sure.
guy's next
Mobster,
level.
what are
I
your
was on
thoughts? Mobster, you still with
Yeah,
us? Yeah.
I'm gonna not say too much because Steve and I have had conversations off air about making money in certain particular ways, but it was nowhere near BeMe's kind of level. But I've always looked at other income as bonus money, like pay your bills, make money doing whatever the hell you're doing, and extra money, like he was talking about, to me was always it was fun money. It was walking around money, whatever else. But I don't know if I would also, in terms of, I mean, I actually know from both sides of this because, as you know, one of my employers, my longest job was working with the Met Police. And one of the things that BeMe touched upon is we have a huge thing here, and I believe you have the same in the States and in Canada, with what they call the proceeds of crime. So if they think you made 6 figures, they try to take 6 figures from you. The amount of money, and sometimes what they think you earn is not necessarily what you did earn. So you can lose your house, your car, your whatever, based on their perception of the amount of money that they think you were making, on how much the value and street value of a product was, and so on and so forth. So, guys, listen, right? Some people are good, some people are bad. Some people treat it as a business, some as a bit of fun, but there can be absolutely a price to pay. So we're not go. It's a great story, but we're not encouraging you to go out there and do crazy shit or
Yeah.
whatever for these shows. Any
No,
final
absolutely.
thoughts, Steve? Yeah,
I had to start basically my entire life over at 26 years old,
yeah.
So you lost
and
all
get
your
it back
money
on
from
track.
this? You lost
Uh,
everything
Almost everything. Yeah. Like I think at the end of the day, I had
between them
maybe,
stealing it and the lawyers? Is that what killed you,
yeah,
or were you
and
just
the
not
lawyers
saving enough
feeling.
money?
No, it was between them taking, they took a fair amount.
Okay.
And yeah, the lawyer just ate up a lot of it, a lot of the rest of it. And yeah, at
Uh,
the end of the day, I maybe still had a car
So
and,
where I live, they'll take your car. Like if you use your car as a crime, they'll just basically confiscate your car. Like
oh
it's
yeah,
re
they tried
yeah,
for my car, but I put it under my best friend's name.
yeah,
So it was on them to prove that it was my car. So they weren't able to prove it to seize it.
yeah.
So
That's just how they
yeah.
make money. They have to make money somehow, like to make
Yeah.
the kind of money that they make. So they have to kind of basically take stuff from people. in that situation. So just how it works. Yeah. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
jewelry, all that stuff. Yeah, it was gone. Expensive jewelry, expensive watches, gone.
So they legally took it from you, or did they actually steal it?
They legally took a couple
So
so they could
legally
show
they
it in
can
court,
steal
and then
from people.
they
Okay.
stole a bunch too. They stole a ton
So
of
they took
jewelry
some
off me.
under the table, basically.
Oh yeah, big
Yeah.
time.
So
They took
yeah,
more under the table.
that's real life, man. That shit
Yeah,
happens for sure. I mean,
Here in
that's
yeah,
here in the UK, guys, one of the things that I was, and Steve and I have talked about this. The worst thing sometimes is the tax man, because the tax man can say, "Look at the life you're living, and look what you're declaring." So not only have you got the proceeds of crime, which was an actual criminal thing in the courts, but you're doing that, you're dealing with that, and then the tax man turns up asking for
yeah.
the amount
How
of
are you
money they
living in
think you
this
could have.
house, driving this car,
Yes,
yet you only reported you
yes,
made 40,000 last
yes,
year? Explain it.
yes,
Yeah. That's a great way
yeah.
to catch people. Yeah.
They
yeah.
tried doing that with me, but luckily at the time, like I was actually playing poker at a pretty high level as well. Like I was
So you could just
even,
use the poker to wash away
yeah, I was
your
actually on like TV
Mhm.
at one
yeah.
point and playing in a tournament, and they had like me on the WPT like website showing earnings and stuff. So my lawyer was able to shut them down on that front.
Yeah, yeah. You could just say, yeah, I made this playing poker. Well, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, and I lost a
So,
whole bunch of money
all
playing
right,
poker too.
all right, all right. Well, we appreciate. Yeah, it was a great podcast, very entertaining, BeMe. We appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll have you on again, in the future. So, we're gonna, wrap this up now. So, Mobster, take us into the disclaimer.
Please note, we are not doctors, and the opinions on these shows are ours. It is our view based on our experience and views on the topic, and podcasts are for informational purposes, entertainment only. For the freedom of speech and the First Amendment applies.